Ajnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with shining torchlight of transcendent knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita from chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text number 32. So just a little recap on where we're coming from in the previous weeks. So like I mentioned, a little bit controversial, text 30 and 31, that even if a devotee engages in some abominable, or you could say sinful activities, they're still to be considered saintly. That's mentioned in text 30. But Prabhupada makes it very clear in the purport of 30 and 31 that this is talking about from the context of accidentally engaging in some sinful activity, not like premeditated, purposefully doing it week after week, but just due to the power of Maya, the material energy, sometime the devotee may fall down, not planning to do that, but just the power of the material energy. One may fall victim, especially if one has had some past bad habits before Krishna consciousness. One may have been a drug addict before, or engaging in illicit sex or meat eating or whatever, gambling. And then it's usually due to bad association. If some bad associations there, then one may fall victim again to those habits that one was attracted to before. You meet one of your old mates that you used to drink together with. He says, come on, just come and have a drink with us at home or whatever, or come and have some marijuana, or, come to my home and eat with us and stuff, something like that, or come to the casino like we used to do and blah, blah, blah. And then, due to some weakness there of heart, one may get sucked in by that bad association like that. And so that is actually not too unusual, too unexpected, and that's just the power of the material energy, because we've been habituated to the sense gratification for so many lifetimes. It's very deeply in the heart, that attraction for the opposite sex, the attraction for tasting, meat and so forth, and so many things like that. So it doesn't necessarily go away, 100%, in 2 seconds. It may take longer than 10 seconds, for all these things to go away. We would like to become a pure devotee, on the spot, but generally it takes some time for all these material desires and everything to go away. However, if one is, fully engaged in devotional service without any gaps, then it's very unlikely that the devotee will fall down. So, but the problem is the gaps. That's why we have to try to make sure there's no gaps, because it's in the gaps that Maya can enter into our mind and say, oh, you've been, chanting for so many years. What does it matter if for one day you don't chant? Or, what does it matter if one day you have a cigarette? You've been doing good for so long, blah, blah, blah. So in those gaps, Maya can enter into our mind and give us some trouble. So that's why it's recommended to be fully engaged in devotional service as much as possible. And I remember in my brahmachari days, we were always so busy in Krishna's service. Even if we were attracted to Maya, there was just no chance. And Prabhupada said that was his policy, why he kept the devotees so busy. because he knew that otherwise Maya would just attack and, the devotees would fall down. So he kept them, so fully engaged, there was just no time. From like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, every day, there was this full engagement in devotional service. And we might think, oh, that's just too much work and blah, 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 and complain about that. But actually, it's good for us because it keeps us away from falling back into the lap of Maya again like that. So it's actually a blessing in disguise. And actually, I remember, when how the transition went from me being a brahmachari to first getting married was when I had some gaps. So there was some gaps, and then obviously my mind thought about, oh, maybe you could get married like that. So, but while I was so fully engaged, never even thought about that. We were just distributing books and reading the books and distributing prasadam, and it was just ecstatic, chanting and dancing and so forth like that, and traveling around and everything, and very satisfying like that. So yeah, we shouldn't be surprised if some devotee has a bit of trouble, and we shouldn't be too hard on them, and that's what's mentioned in the verse in text 30. We should consider them saintly. And why that is, why even if a devotee does some wrong thing, they're still to be considered saintly, as long as, like it's mentioned, they're rightly properly situated in their determination. It mentions that in text 30. So as they have to be fully engaged in devotional service, not just once a week chant a few rounds. We're not going to consider that person necessarily a saint. But if someone's, fully engaged in devotional service, if they slip up, still consider them a saint. And why that's mentioned is in text 31, because Krishna's in the heart, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, and he purifies the devotee from within. So if a devotee slips up, there's extra help from Krishna in the heart to help purify the heart. So all that lust, that greed, that envy, that anger, that pride, whatever is causing the problems, Krishna being pleased by the devotees chanting and hearing about Krishna, taking prasadam, serving the deities, preaching or whatever like that, then Krishna is pleased by all these services and will personally help the devotee to come out of that bad habits. Whereas a non-devotee doesn't get that extra help from Krishna. They're on their own. If they've got a problem with lust or greed or anger, they're not going to get any help, from Krishna with that. They just, and it's highly unlikely they're ever going to change. It's very hard to change those habits. I mean, there are some programs, we have, Alcoholics Anonymous and so many things, so many organizations to help people change. But yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Very difficult. And then because it's just your personal endeavor. Okay, I've got this problem, I have to get out of it. So it's just you trying to get out of it. But who are you working against? The whole material energy, which is far more powerful than us. So good luck. It's just you against the material energy. So probably, where it's going to be hard for us to overcome that. But if you got Krishna's support, then Krishna is more powerful than Maya. More powerful than mine. So we can look at a verse that talks about that. I think 7:14, maybe. Yep, 7:14. Whoever finds it can start reading the translation.
Divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Yeah, so it's very easy for Krishna's devotee that's surrendered to Krishna to overcome it. But for others, it's very difficult to overcome. Very difficult. Because Maya is more stronger than us, But Maya is not more stronger than Krishna. The only person stronger than Maya is Krishna. And Maya is Krishna's servant. So, if we come under Krishna's shelter, then Maya won't be able to hammer us. But if you step outside Krishna's shelter, good luck. Then smash, boom, bang, we get hammered, in so many ways like that. So yeah, does anyone want to say anything about that? That's just a bit of a recap. So yeah, these verses are indicating accidental fall down, not not just that this is our regular behavior to engage in horrible activities, but no, that we're the devotee that's accustomed to living in the mode of goodness and a very pure life, serving Krishna, but just occasionally might get knocked down a bit, but quickly gets up, and with Krishna's help, quickly gets up and engages in devotional service again, but not someone that's taking advantage of, oh, I'm a Hare Krishna, I can do anything I like, and then chant Hare Krishna to counteract all the bad things I did. No, that's as I've mentioned, that's an offense to the holy name. That's the seventh offense, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. You do some sinful act, and then I'll just chant Hare Krishna to counteract that, and then do the sinful act again, and then chant again to counteract that. So to make that sort of one's plan, like that, that's not only are you going to suffer the sinful reaction, but you're going to suffer the offense against Krishna's holy name, like that. And if you try to cheat Krishna, it's not going to work, because Krishna's the greatest cheater. He's the greatest of everything. So, he's even a greater cheater than us. So even we might try to cheat, but we'll end up being cheated by Krishna. And ultimately, we're going to get cheated of the main thing that we want. What's the main thing that we really want? Pure devotional service, and to go back to Godhead. So that you'll be cheated of that. If you pretend that you're a devotee and engage in all horrible things and then chant Hare Krishna to counteract them, then you're going to stay in the material world. You're never going to achieve pure devotional service. You may get big position and power and money and all those kind of things. Yeah, Krishna can just give that, but he's never going to give you the real thing, which is going home back to Godhead and having Krishna's association in the spiritual world. So you miss out on that. So that's really foolish. That's really ignorant, like that. One may think, oh, this is a really good program. I can do sinful things and then counteract it by chanting, and do more sinful things and counteract it by chanting. One may think, wow, this is a really good program. I like this process. But no, it's not going to work like that. You're going to end up being ruined by that, like that. And as I mentioned, Christians have that, they have confession, go to the priest in the church and confess. Hindus have that. They'll go and dip in the Ganges and the Yamuna, the holy river, to counteract their sins and like that. So every religion has a process of atonement for sinful activities. But we shouldn't, take advantage of God's kindness and try to, take advantage of it and cheat the system like that. It's not going to work out so well. And so that's not a good sign if week after week we're doing that. Of course, if, once in 10 years or whatever you went to the church or went in the Ganges to counteract some slip up you had, that's okay. But, and Prabhupada mentions, you may do something wrong, and God will forgive you the first time. And you may do something wrong the second time, and he'll forgive you the second time. And you may do something wrong the third time, and he'll forgive you the third time. But after that, no. Then it becomes, you're not sincere. The Lord's going to think you're not sincere. You're not serious. You're cheating, like that. Because we all make mistakes. There's a saying, right? To err is human. So, it's just human nature. We're going to make mistakes. But, so he can forgive you once, forgive you twice, forgive you three times. But if you just make it a regular, affair like that, then, he's going to realize, no, you're not serious, mate. You're not sincere, like that. So yeah, that's what this verse is referring to, those accidental slip-ups, and the devotee is still to be considered well situated, and Krishna will help him, to eventually become completely pure and go back to Godhead. Okay, so before we start this one for today, does anyone want to say anything about that? Any comments or questions?
I wanted to ask a question and um and about Maya. It always talks about that that's an energy of Krishna, but is Maya a personality as well? Like, is Maya like a
Yeah, good question.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So
Because
we
I
are
get
we are
confused
also
about material nature,
okay.
and then somebody said to me, "Well, Bhumi's Mother Earth,"
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then I was like, but I thought Maya was material nature, so I
yeah.
was confused with Maya,
Okay,
Durga, and Bhumi. So I
okay.
was a bit confused about that. I know it's a bit off topic, so you can
No,
do it
no, not at
another
all.
day if you
No, no, because
want.
we mentioned about Maya and that, so that's on the topic. And whenever you're talking about energy, energy comes from a person. You can't have energy without a person, you know. We've talked about before, like electricity is energy, right? But it doesn't exist by itself. If you trace the wire, you're going to come to a powerhouse, and that itself is not a person. But if you go inside the powerhouse, then you're going to find engineers. So actually, the source of the energy, the electrical energy, is the engineers. Like that. They're controlling that energy. Without those engineers, you don't have the power station and you don't have the electricity like that. So energy always comes from a person. Actually, the individual soul, the Jivatmas, which we are, a few of them, unlimited ones, then we are regarded as energies too. We're energies, but we're a person. We're a person, and as a person, we have energies. We have energies, and one of the energies we have is knowledge, and that's what we're using on these soul searching sessions, right? Is that knowledge energy. And we have some strength energy, we can lift up a book or lift up whatever. Krishna's lifting mountains, Govardhan, and we're lifting a book or a bucket of water or something like that. So we all have different energies of movement. We can move from A to B. That takes energy. So we are energies of Krishna, and as energies of Krishna, we're meant to use that energy in Krishna's service. To cook for Krishna and sing for Krishna and dance for Krishna and talk about Krishna and use all of our energies for Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna is the energetic. So what does energetic mean? Energetic means the source of the energy. Is the source of the energy. So we have been expanded from Krishna. We're like the sparks of the fire, or the light rays of light from the sun. So the source of our energy comes from Krishna, like that. And so these energies have different responsibilities. These personalities with energy have different responsibilities. One person uh, is Bhumi, so Mother Earth. So is a female form, and in Sanskrit called Bhumi. In English we say Mother Earth, and her energy is being utilized to control and manage, maintain the Earth, like that. And then you have another woman has a lot of energy, and she's in control of the whole universe, and that she has many names: Durga and Parvati, Kali. She has many different forms, many different expansions like that. The wife of Lord Shiva. So some of those personalities controlling different aspects of nature in a male form, like Shiva, and some are in a female form, like Durga or like Bhumi, like that. The control of the moon is a male form, Chandra, the moon god, And the control of the sun is a male form, Suryaday, Vivashwan, like that. But some of the planets, they have, the soul has a female form, they're in control like that. And then, and it said that Durga, she's an expansion of Radha. So she's the spiritual energy. She's the spiritual energy. So she's in the spiritual world. She's the Ladini Shakti. Shakti means energy. Ladini means the pleasure or bliss. So she is in control of the pleasure energy, pleasure potency of Krishna, and which is bhakti, which gives pleasure. So she's in control of that, the Ladini Shakti, the pleasure energy, and she expands and becomes Durga. One of her expansions is Durga in the material world, Parvati or Durga, the wife of Lord Shiva, like that. But yeah, so even though if you talk about energy, you're not just talking about some formless light or whatever. There's always a person there. Even I tell you what, even this is how amazing it gets, that even the Brahmajyoti, right, which is the light, the spiritual light that radiates from Krishna's body, we might just say, well, that's just light. There's nothing personal about that, but that's wrong. It's actually made up of souls like us. It's made up, that light that radiates from Krishna's body, the Brahmajyoti, is made up of souls, right? Even it said that even within this material world, which is actually also Brahmajyoti covered by Maya, when it's covered by Maya, the Brahmajyoti covered by Maya is actually the material world. Just like the sun, right? You have the sky, beautiful big sky, and it's covered by a cloud, right? Say one section of the sky is covered by a cloud. So that Brahmajyoti is everywhere, just like the sky is everywhere in the material world, and one section of that is covered by a cloud. So that cloud could be compared to Maya. So Krishna's light radiates everywhere, and then 1/4 of Krishna's expansions, 1/4 of that is the material world. 3/4 is Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, and 1/4 is the material world. And that is Brahmajyoti, also spiritual light, but covered by Maya, covered by this energy of illusion. And there was a point I was going to make, and it's just skipped my mind. Oh yeah. But even in the material, even in this Maya, right, which is Brahmajyoti covered by Maya, that it said even within the atom, Paramatma is there, the super soul is there, and Paramatma is a person. Paramatma is a person. So that super soul Paramatma is even inside the atom, and this is even more far out. So not only the super soul is inside even the atom, which is the smallest material ingredient we know of with modern science, then not only the super soul is within the atom, which is and the super soul has a form, as a person, has a spiritual form, a person, but also the devotees of the super soul, because the super soul is not alone. Krishna is never alone. So wherever the Lord is, he's going to have his associates, his servants, his devotees, his associates. So they're also with him inside the atom. Has that blown your mind yet? It's inconceivable for us. But this is what the Vedic scriptures say, and we can't personally prove that or disprove that. So we just faithfully accept that because we know that the Vedas is a perfect authority. There's no mistakes or cheating in the Vedas. So it's coming from God. The Vedas comes from God, so he knows everything perfectly. So that's what he's saying. That's what the Vedas are saying. So even the Paramatma, the super soul, with all of his associates are inside the atom. So whatever the energies may be, but there's always comes back to a person. There's always going to be a person there. You can't have just this energy without any personality involved. It's always going to be there. The sunlight's so much energy producing, but there's a person that controls that, you know, and it just keeps pumping out light for year after year after year, century after century, 1,000 years, million years, as long as the universe is existing, which is 311 trillion of our Earth years. That sun is just pumping out energy to light up the universe. And that's all coming from the sun god. It's just pumping that out. Well, if you took the sun god out of the equation, there would be no sunlight. There'd be absolutely no sunlight. If you took the moon god out of the equation, there'd be absolutely no moonlight. If you took Krishna out of the equation, there'd be nothing. Nothing at all like that. So there's always a person there. Wherever you've got energy, there's a person there. And you can't have a person without energy. That's also there. You can't have the energy without the person. And if you can't have a person that has no energy, person means must have energies. So they're always going to be together. You're going to have the person with different energies. So Krishna's the greatest person with the greatest amount of energies, and we're like the smallest person with the smallest amount of energies, like that. And does that make sense, Bhakti Miller?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, so one female devotee, she's in charge of the earth, and another female, Bhumi, and another female devotee, Durga Parvati, is in charge of the whole universe. And then there are many universes, there's unlimited universes, and each universe has its own Durga and Shiva, like that. It's mind-blowing, so vast.
I think that one more material nature and how it fits in. I think that was the other Bhaktimala asked as well. The three things that she was confused about. It's the material nature,
Yeah.
Bhumi and Durga, and yeah.
Yeah, so Durga is controlling the material nature.
Hmm.
And the material nature is made up of, as mentioned in that 714, three modes. As mentioned in 714, said this divine energy of mine. So when Krishna says in that translation of 714, divine energy of mine, he's talking about the material nature. And he says it consists of three modes. So Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. So the material energy, which Durga is controlling, works in three different ways. In goodness, in passion, and ignorance. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Just like electrical energy works in two ways, heating and cooling, right? Same electrical energy, but it works in two different ways. You can either heat or cool, like that. And so material energy works in three ways, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And Durga is the controller of that energy. So why does Krishna say in that verse divine energy? I thought you said it's the material energy. Why does that verse say divine energy? Because the material energy in one sense is also divine, also spiritual. It means it comes from Krishna. Anything that comes from Krishna
It's divine.
Is divine, is spiritual. So, from Krishna's point of view, is the material world material or spiritual? From Krishna's point of view. Is there any... Huh?
What was the question? Sorry,
From Krishna's point of view, is the material world, this modes of material nature, material or spiritual?
It's just material?
No, it's spiritual.
No, is it spiritual?
It's his energy, which is all spiritual, because he's spiritual. He's
Oh, this
spiritual, so
divine
anything
energy of
coming
mine.
from him
Okay.
is spiritual. But from our point of view, we think the material world, we see it as material. Actually, it's spiritual. Like a pure devotee in the material world, does he see the material world as material? No, he sees it as spiritual. He sees it as God's energy. The pure devotee sees everything as Krishna's
As
energy.
Krishna's energy.
When he sees the sky, he thinks of Krishna. When he tastes water, he thinks of Krishna. When he sees the sun and the moon, he thinks of Krishna. He sees the trees, the flowers, the birds, the animals, he thinks of Krishna. He doesn't just see that there's a tree there. He sees there's Krishna inside the tree. So everything just reminds him of Krishna. So for a pure devotee, there's no material world. Everything is spiritual. And from Krishna's point of view, there's no question. Everything is spiritual.
Find the whole
When
thing
we're covered by Maya, what's
confusing.
that? What's that?
The whole thing's confusing because you said Maya controls the material world, but at the same time, Bhumi controls the material world.
No,
So
no.
who
Bhumi controls the
it?
Earth. Bhumi is
What's
just.
the difference?
Well, I mean, there's more to the Earth. I mean, when you look at, have you ever looked up at night, Bhakti Mala? Look at the sky at night. There's a lot of other planets. So this one planet is the Earth, right? So the planet we're standing on, the planet you and I and all of us are standing on, is controlled by Mother Earth, Bhumi, right? But when you look out at the sky at night, then there's another woman, Durga, Parvati. She controls all of that. Millions of planets.
But you said Maya controls the material world.
Yeah, and Maya is another name of Durga. Maya means illusory energy, and Durga controls it. Maya means illusory energy, and Durga, Parvati, Maya Devi, she's also called Maya Devi, and Devi means goddess, then she controls that illusory energy. That energy of illusion, like I said, everything has a person behind it. That energy that makes you think that you're a woman, or makes you think that you're a man or an Indian or an Aussie or a Kiwi, that makes you think that this is your house and this is your car and this is your country and everything. That's controlled by Durga.
Durga controls more than this illusory energy.
No. She controls the illusory energy. That's her portfolio.
But
not more than that. I mean, she doesn't have any influence in the spiritual world. She only has influence in this 1/4, I said, of the creation, which is those souls that have turned away from Krishna. This material was compared to a prison house.
So she's the prison.
The whole society is not a prison house, is it? But it's just one part of it is the prison. So it's like 3/4 of the creation is outside the prison and 1/4 is in the prison. So, and who's in charge of the prison? That's Durga or Maya Devi, like that. She's in charge of the prison. And why have a prison? Government doesn't necessarily like to have a prison, but has to, because there's some rebels that are going to be there that don't want to follow the laws of the government. So just like there's people that don't follow the laws of the government, so there's people that don't follow the laws of God, people that don't want to serve God and don't want to follow the laws of God. Well, this material world is for them. They don't want to follow the laws of God, like that.
I think I'll just park it there, and I'll think about that a lot more.
Yeah, just think about it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
thank you.
It's amazing. I mean, it's mind-blowing stuff. But and even if we don't understand, it doesn't matter. But just hearing about it is purifying us. It's just, we should have faith in that. That even though I don't really get what Abai is saying, but it's purifying me. We should just. I mean, I don't fully get it either. When I say that Krishna's even within the atom, the super soul, and all of his associates, that just blows my mind. I mean, intellectually, I accept it, but that doesn't mean I understand how it works. I don't understand how it works. And we're not meant to necessarily understand how it works, and we don't need to know how it works. We just hear it with the idea that it's purifying us, that Krishna's going to be pleased that we're hearing about his opulences and his energies and everything. And so don't be worried that you don't understand everything. Even it said Krishna doesn't know everything. Because as soon as Krishna comprehends all of his energies have increased. Means they're never, it doesn't stay still. It's not static, it's ecstatic. Krishna's energies are always expanding, always increasing, always growing. So even he doesn't fully understand his own energies. What to speak of us? It says in Antasasha, the Balaram's expansion with many snakehoods is glorifying Krishna's opulences and energies and with thousands of mouths, and he can never finish because it's always going more and more and more and more and more. So it's unlimited, and we're very limited. So how can the limited understand the unlimited? It's not gonna happen. But see, that's not our objective, to understand everything. We should understand that point. Understand that point, that that's not our purpose, our objective, to understand everything. What is our purpose, objective? Our goal is not to know everything. That's not our goal. That's what the Gyanis want to do.
Krishna, never forget Krishna.
Yeah, that's there. And then what's the purpose of that? To always be remembering Krishna. What's ultimately our goal?
Bhakti.
Yeah, and what does bhakti mean? To
love Krishna.
To love Krishna. That's our goal, to love Krishna. And who are the greatest lovers of Krishna? We're talking about that on Saturdays.
The gopis.
The gopis, the cowherd girls. Do they know everything? They know bugger all. They know bugger all. They know bugger all. Think about that. They're brought up in a village herding cows. Then didn't even go to school. They didn't even go to school. They don't even read and write. They don't even read and write. But they love Krishna more than anyone else in the universe. That's the goal, not to know everything. So what are we doing now, trying to know stuff, if we don't need to know anything like the gopis? Because the goal of our trying to know stuff now is to develop a little bit of the love that the gopis have spontaneously, automatically. If we had the love the gopis had for Krishna, we don't need to be opening up the Bhagavad Gita. But the problem is we don't have that love. So now we need to know some things so that we can try to reawaken that love for Krishna. But our ultimate goal is not to know everything. Our goal is to love Krishna. And this hearing about Krishna, all of his opulences and energies and glories, is helping to reawaken that dormant love for Krishna in our hearts. That's all it's for. We actually don't care about all this knowledge.
No,
what do we care about loving Krishna?
Helen started the reading group with us yesterday, right?
Yeah. You're breaking up, Bhakti Mala.
This is the first time. Oh, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You can't do anything about the internet connection, but just say it again. I'll just make sure all of our other devices are off.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now,
yeah, I can hear you now. Yep. Now it's better.
Helen's come to the reading group on the Wednesday, Bob's sister, Helen.
Yeah,
and
cool.
So finally she's come to the reading group, but we were reading yesterday and it came up and she said, who's Maya? And I'm trying to explain what Maya is and all this sort of thing. And then me and Pramila get into, then we started confusing each other a bit, and then I so that was my intention behind asking more, was because
nice.
now I'm being asked questions, and I think, my knowledge isn't very complete. I think I've got some sort of knowledge, but it didn't compute coming out my mouth. So
That's exactly why preaching is so good for us, because when you're connecting up with others, reaching out to others, it forces you to understand the philosophy. Otherwise, you don't really have to learn the philosophy. But when other people ask you questions, you go, what is? I better go read the Bhagavad Gita. I better ask a bye. So it makes you learn, more things about Krishna. So that it's very healthy for us. And that's how I learned so much, because I started off as a preacher. As a preacher, as a brahmachari. That's all we would do, meet people all day long, and they're going to fire questions at you. And you have to give, don't have to, but hopefully give an answer. And if you don't know it, you got to go back and ask the devotees, this guy asked me this, what is that about? Or, I better read the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam. And, so we were reading a lot, going to lectures and everything, because we had to face people. And, they're going to challenge us, they're going to challenge us and everything. Oh, okay, you Hare Krishnas, why don't you get a job? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Go get a job. Just seeing on the street, get a job. So what are you going to say?
Job.
So
no? Say this
so you have to
job.
think. It makes you think when you have to face all these challenges from people and questions and stuff. And then it makes you think about the philosophy. How does it work? What is it about? Like that, how to answer this. And Prabhupada said, I am always thinking how to, defeat all these opposing arguments and everything. He said, don't think it comes automatically, because someone would give some argument to Prabhupada and he would just immediately give the answer, immediately defeat the argument. And devotees would go, wow, he just said it just like immediately without even a second thinking. But he's saying that he's always thinking about how to answer this question, how to deal with this argument, like that. He's always thinking about it. So it's really good for us to be dealing with people and having to answer questions and stuff. It makes us go deeper into the understanding of the science of bhakti. And it forces us to read Prabhupada's books, which is good. Otherwise, we won't pick up the books. And like that, it's good. Very good. Okay, let's read today's one, huh? So, this is chapter 9, text 32.
Yeah. Bhaktimala, you want to read or shall I?
Oh, we'll read the Sanskrit first. Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Mam hi partha vipashritya.
Ye pesu papayonaya.
Ye pisu papayonaya.
Striyo vaishyas tata shudras.
Shriyo vaishyas tata shudras.
Te piyanti param gatim.
Te piyanti param gatim.
Okay, who's going to read the translation? Dr. Miller?
O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, merchants, and sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Here's another controversial verse.
Controversial, yeah. I mean, I've been looking at that and thinking,
how dare Krishna says that a woman is a lower birth.
Yeah, and he's got so
There's
many.
another.
He's got so many women in his cabinet. I mean, Bhumi and Durga and whoever else. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to explain it. There's a bit to explain. So don't jump on your horse straight away. And then, so what? First of all, O son of Pritha, what's that about? So, because this is Krishna talking to Arjuna, and Arjuna's the son of Kunti. So one name of Kunti is Pritha. It's another name of Arjuna's mother, Kunti, is Pritha. And that's why Arjuna was known as Partha. Partha means son of Pritha. Son of Pritha is Partha. So one of Arjuna's other names is Partha. One of Krishna's names is Partha Sarthi. Partha Sarthi. What does that mean? It means the chariot driver of Arjuna, Krishna. Krishna was the chariot driver. Sarthi, Ratha, Rathi, Partha, Sarthi. So Ratha means chariot. So that Krishna was the chariot driver of Arjuna. So therefore Krishna's name is Partha Sarthi, like that. So yeah, one of Arjuna's names is Partha, and the mother's name's Pritha or Kunti. Like it. So Krishna's talking to Arjuna, the son of Pritha. And I was just thinking, talking about that, woman lower birth, but what a special woman that Kunti. Kunti is such a special woman that she produced such wonderful sons. So this is the real glory of a woman, to become a mother of great pious sons. And Kunti produced not only the Pandavas, Yudhisthira, who's known as Dharmaraj, the most religious person ever born. He's like the topmost religious pious person, Yudhisthira. And then next son was Bhima, was one of the strongest persons ever born. And then Arjuna, Krishna's personal friend, so that's Kunti produced all these children. And then Nakula and Sahadev, also very virtuous, perfected, beings. And then also Karna. Don't forget Karna, before marrying Pandu, she connected up with the sun god Vivishwan, and the sun god gave her Karna, like that. So what a wonderful woman to produce such wonderful sons like that. So not all women are considered, it's a lower birth. So this talking about the woman or a lower birth refers to materialistic woman. So not all women are in this category, like devotee women are not in this category.
But there is no differentiation here. It's just women. And although all of them were born of the women that you just mentioned, but it was probably because of the father, who's given the credit for those good births.
No, because actually the qualities of the son come from the mother.
Oh, really?
Yep. According to the Vedas, the quality of the sons come from the mother. The qualities of the daughter comes from the father. And I've experienced that personally. Like my daughter is much more like me, and my son is like my first wife, like that much more so. And I've seen that with many others. Also, many others that I've talked about this with have also agreed that that it seems to work like that. And so yeah, very special quality. And one time, I've mentioned this many times because I love this pastime of Prabhupada, but I'll mention it again. And it also answers this sort of question about women, that Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and it was just men on the morning walk all the ladies were back in the temple doing all the work. And the men were just having a relaxing walk with Prabhupada, chanting and talking. And the men were criticizing the women, you know, that these women are disturbing, the brahmacharis and the sannyasis. They're having these good-looking women around is disturbing our minds. You know, better Prabhupada, we shouldn't allow women in the temples. That was, believe it or not, in the early days, one thing some of the men would say. We don't want to allow any women in the temples, and like that, and they're just agitating the minds of the brahmacharis and the sannyasis and everything. And, they were criticizing their this and that and this and that. And Prabhupada didn't say anything the whole walk, right? He's just hearing them criticize women, right? And then they come back to the temple after the walk's over, and the door opens, and there's some women are like throwing showers of flower petals all over Prabhupada, and laying down flower petals in front of the path. So he's walking on all these flower petals. And they're blowing the conch shell and everything like that, playing the mridanga and kartals and singing kirtan for Prabhupada. And, there's a lady in there doing the arati for the deities, and some of the ladies have cooked the prasadam, which is going to be for everyone to eat and everything. And some ladies have just cleaned the temple room floor and washed the pots and everything, made the garlands, and basically did everything. So, and Prabhupada's seeing all that, right? Everyone's seeing all that. And then Prabhupada turned around to the men. So the women are in front, right, doing all the work in the temple. And Prabhupada turned around to the men who were behind him. And so he's just been hearing them criticize how these women are just no good whatsoever and everything like that. And then Prabhupada said, but not these women. Prabhupada said, if you, meaning the men, associate with these women, you'll go back home, back to Godhead.
Wow.
He said like that. If you associate with these women, you'll go back home, back to Godhead. Yeah, they're transcendental, they're devotees, they're devotees. They're devotees, like Mother Earth, Bhumi, she's a devotee. She's not an ordinary woman. You can't compare with her with the prostitute in Sydney. You can't compare the goddess, the woman that controls the earth, to some prostitute in Sydney. Or the woman that controls the whole material world, the whole universe. You can't compare with some, stupid woman or stupid man, like that. So they're a completely different category. And also, apart from all that, this is not just a criticism of women as a lower birth, but it's also mentioned Vaishyas and Sudras. So Vaishyas means men.
Merchants.
Men who are engaged, and they have 3 different divisions of work within Vaishya. Some Vaishyas deal with money and business, like banking and stuff like that, and some with anything profit related, like any kind of business where you're making some profit, and then also protecting cows and producing food like that. So all those persons, also those men, regarded as a lower birth, and then Sudras, and guess what is said about that men born in Kali Yuga. It says in Kali Yuga, everyone is born a Sudra in Kali Yuga. So we're all lower birth, so don't feel bad, ladies. So all of us are lower birth, because said everyone is born, all the men are born Sudras in Kali Yuga. And so what is a higher birth? Higher birth, that means
you.
Twice born. What's that?
That's you, Abhi. Higher born.
Oh, well, my first birth was pretty low. You can't get much lower than that. I just feel embarrassed to talk about my early life, what I experienced. But But higher birth means, see, we all start off, the first birth as a lower birth, right? Which is, we're all born in ignorance, right? And let's be honest, you know, when we get shoved out of that womb of our mother, we are so ignorant. We're no different than an animal. And anyone that thinks that a human baby is any more enlightened than an animal needs to get some more education. You know, so we're just so ignorant. We don't know anything and we can't do anything. As, you know, Deepa knows, you know, a little baby, completely helpless. You know, mother has to, you were saying, waking up in the night to feed the baby and change the nappies. And, you know, we're just shitting our pants, you know. We're just so, you know, just useless and ignorant. Even animals are better than that. They don't poo their pants or whatever, you know, so, and they find their own. And we don't know anything. That's why we have to go to school, right? To learn everything. You know, our parents teach us stuff and then we learn more at school and blah, blah, blah. So we're just born ignorant. But the idea in Vedic culture is you have to have a second birth. And what's the second birth? First birth, you know, you have your mother and father, right? Second birth, you also have a different mother and father. Do you know what they are?
The guru?
Yep. So that's our second father is the spiritual master, the guru, and the second mother is the Vedas, is the Vedic knowledge. So the Vedas is our second mother and the guru is our second father. So, and with that, then then it's not a lower birth anymore. Then you become an enlightened being. Then you become enlightened. You're not acting like the body anymore. You know, you're not just working according to the dictations of the body, but you're acting as a soul. Once you've been, you know, trained up by the Vedas and the spiritual master, then you're acting as the soul, you know. So that's called Dvija. Ja means birth and Dvi means two. So your second birth is known as, if you've had that initiation from the spiritual master.
Wow.
And that time, generally, you're given Gayatri mantra. You receive the Gayatri mantra as a sign there of initiation. And then that's regarded as then you're a Dvija. And then when the Dvija becomes fully educated, so that's the beginning of the second birth when you get initiation from the Guru. And then, but you're not trained up yet fully. So then when you're fully trained up, then, well, as you're beginning it, then you're called a Vipra, means more, you're getting some knowledge. And then you fully understand that you're Brahman, then you're called a Brahmana. Brahmana means one who knows the Brahman. What does Brahman mean? Spiritual. So when you know that you're not the body and that you're a spirit soul and you're acting as a spirit soul by engaging in devotional service, then you know, eligible to be called a Brahmana. You're acting on that Brahman platform, Brahman realization. And we can look at that Brahman platform, 18th chapter, text number. Let's see what kind of Brahmana I am if I can remember the verse. And text number 54, around about. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I must be a Brahmana.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, someone can read that translation for 54.
One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Wow.
So this is the prerequisite. This is the platform we need to come to be able to engage in pure devotional service. We need to come to the spiritual platform. As long as we're operating on the material platform, the bodily platform, which is I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a Kiwi, I'm an Aussie, I'm an Indian, you can't engage in devotional service. You can't. I'm a Christian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim. It's all bodily. You can't become a devotee if you're thinking I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm white, I'm this or that. When you act on the spiritual platform, I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is a servant of Krishna. That's the spiritual platform. Then you can engage in devotional service. When you realize that you at least accepted theoretically that I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is a servant of Krishna. That's the only duty of the spirit soul, is to serve Krishna. Not to serve the Hindus, not to serve the Christians, not to serve the Muslims, not to serve the black people, the white people, the young people, the old people, the men, the women, whatever like that. We got to rise above all these bodily designations. As long as you're on the platform of bodily designations, you can't fully engage in devotional service. First of all, we have to come above that bodily platform and realize we're not the body, we're a spirit soul. Then, like it's mentioned, you become happy all the time. Why are we not happy all the time? It's because we think we're the body. We always think, our men's problems, I got women's problems, I've got, mind's problems, so many things all to do with the body. We have to rise above that. When you realize I'm not the body, I'm an eternal soul, then immediately you become happy, because you don't identify. It doesn't mean you don't have bodily and mental problems anymore, but you don't identify with them anymore. I mean, my body has heaps of problems. I had a week where my left shoulder was hardly working. I was like, what's going on with my shoulder? It like doesn't work anymore. And then and now it's feeling better. But anyway, you just go on with it. You just go on with your. So I still kept chanting and reading and doing all the things. All my gardening activities were a little bit difficult, but continue on with all the spiritual things. And I didn't become depressed or anything because the shoulder doesn't work. But if you identify with that, look, I'm a shoulder, then you'd go crazy, Oh, my shoulder, my shoulder, my shoulder. Not thinking all day long about your shoulder, then you're going to become depressed. But no, you have to keep remembering you're a spirit soul. And we're in this vehicle. This body is called a yantra, means a machine. But we have to remember, we're the passenger inside this machine. We're the driver inside this machine. We're the person inside this machine. Someone's there, I think.
To look after the machine, though.
What's that? Yeah,
we
that's
need
right.
to look after
that's right, you do. So Jointy did some massage some oil into my shoulder, and then put this special heat gun on my shoulder to try to get it working. And I figured maybe it's because I've been lying on my left side that's stuffed up my left shoulder. So now I'm not lying on my left side, so I'm lying on my back. It's feeling a bit better. So you still got to look after it, but you don't become fully absorbed in it. And like it's mentioned about not lamenting and not desiring. So like that, when I hurt my shoulder, I could have been lamenting. Oh, it's the end of the world. I'm going to die. It's like that. So you don't lament about it. And then you don't desire. It means, I want a really strong, healthy, fit body, beautiful looking. And so you don't have a lot of desires for the body. And you don't also, 20 years ago, I had a really good body, but now it's all old and wrinkly and all my hair's fallen out and gone grey and everything. So that's what normally happens. Lamenting is about the past. That's what lamenting is about. Oh, I had all this money and now I've lost it. So you lament about that. I had this relationship and I lost it, and you lament about that. So lamenting is about the past, and desiring or hankering is another word for desiring, kankshati, is about the future. If I have this, I'll be happy. And if I have this, I'll be happy. If I am with this person, I'll be happy. If I get this money, if I get this position, I'll be happy. If I get this job, I'll be happy. So it's always, we're oscillating usually in material consciousness between the past and the future. But on the spiritual platform, we get out of that. We're not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. We're just in the present, engaging in Krishna's service. In the present, we're we've realized that we're a spirit soul, and as a spirit soul, we're serving Krishna right now. And it doesn't matter about the past, and the future. They don't exist like that. And then when we're
on the
on
past,
that what's that?
And it's good to reflect on the past and to
Fully.
learn from our mistakes or learn from the past as well. I think that that's an important thing to, we should think about the past, because otherwise we're not going to learn from everything that happens to us,
100%. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Bhakti Mala. And
Yeah.
that's exactly why a lot of the Vedas are in the form of Puranas. Puranas means history, the past. So, but it's the specific things mentioned in the Puranas and the histories are those things that we can learn from to help us progress towards the ultimate goal, like I said, to love God. So all the things. Some of the histories talk about things that you shouldn't do. Like there'll be persons like Kamsa and Hiranyakashipu and all the demons and that. So, don't be like them. And there'll be like Prahlad and the Pandavas and Arjuna and that. So we should be like them, so like that, some good role models and things to do and things not to do. So we have to learn all those things, and we can learn them a lot from the past. So, but the point mentioned is we shouldn't lament about the past. But yeah, you're right, Bhakti Mala. We can definitely learn from the past, but not just always daydreaming. I was a millionaire a decade ago, and now I don't even have a dollar, like that. And oh, I wish I had $1 million again, and blah blah blah. No, not like that. That's in the influence of tamaguna, the mode of ignorance, which is just dreaming a lot. Anyone that does a lot of daydreaming, daydreaming all the time and everything, that's just tamaguna. That's the mode of ignorance, and it means it's not going to lead to anything progressive. It's just ignorance means just lethargy, laziness. Nothing's happening. Ignorance is the worst, mode to be under control over. Then you're just not going to get anywhere. At least passion is good in the sense that at least something's happening. At least there's some movement, something's happening. Because at least if there's some passion there, that's going to be helpful at least to maintain the body. Because you can't even maintain the body in ignorance. If you're not moving, doing anything, your body is not even going to survive. Oh, that's good. One of our neighbors has come to get some prasadam.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
And yeah, so ignorance is just no good for anything. And then passion is a little bit better. And then goodness is the best. But problem with passion is you're acting, but you don't have any knowledge. So you end up going in the wrong direction, into a ditch usually and suffering. But, action with knowledge is the best. And that's the mode of goodness. You're still acting, but with knowledge. You know what to do, what not to do, and everything. Passion, you're running around like a headless chicken, going around one thing after another. And yeah, that ultimately is very distressful because we're running around after material things, thinking that material things would make us happy. And that's one thing I learned when I was a young fella, that I was thinking if I get more material things, I'll be happy. But I never was happy. Doesn't matter how many material things I got, And that was the hippie generation that Prabhupada met in the 60s. They had their parents. Their parents were big materialists. Those hippies' parents were big materialists in the 60s. They had millions of dollars, and I mean my guru's father was a judge You can't get much higher than that. And also he owned real estate. He owned properties. He's like multi-millionaire. He was so rich, he said to his son, who joined the Hare Krishnas, if you leave the Hare Krishnas, I'll just write you out $1 million check right now.
Oh.
And that was 50 years ago, $1 million check, which is like probably $50 million now, you know. So, and my guru said, no, thanks, you keep it. Like that's how attached he was to Prabhupada, like that. But that's what they realized, that, our parents have so many material things, but they're not happy. They're not happy. So that's why the hippies didn't want to follow that path of materialism. Because we see that people, even they have a lot of material things, they're still not happy. Often the people that have a lot of material things are more unhappy than the people that don't have a lot of things. Like that. So that's the problem with passion. You're always running around after things, but those things, they just bring you frustration and disappointment and everything like that. Of course, we need enough material things just to survive. So that's the Vedic recommendation. You work just enough to get enough to survive, just to maintain your body and soul together. So, and the spare time you should use for your spiritual development. But another problem with passionate life is all of your time is spent running around. You don't have any spare time for spiritual development. You're always trying to get more. It's never enough. So it's unlimited how much work you have to do for that. And there's just no time, One of Prabhupada's disciples started a job working in a factory, and his disciples mentioned, I'm going to tell my silly dog to shut up because he's barking.
Does he listen to him? I wonder.
Go to the loo while he's away.
So I had to use a bit of passion, a bit of passion to stop him disturbing the class.
Does he listen to you, Abhi Prabhu?
He often does, because he knows what will happen if he doesn't listen.
Oh, okay.
He'll get a bit of discipline.
Intelligent dog. That.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bhaktimala just went to the conveniences.
Yeah, no problem. It's our time's nearly up anyway. But yeah, that's the problem with passion. It's never ending. If you're always wanting more and more and more, and it's never ending, and then that just sucks all your life energy away. And that modern society is mainly, Prabhupada said, advanced in the mode of passion. So what we call material advancement, maybe mostly means increase in the passion. And the problem with that is just no time for a spiritual life, no time. Previously, 100 years ago, all around the world, people used to go to churches and mosques and temples and all the time, every weekend at least, and even every evening. But now, hardly anyone has any time for God. Maybe once a year on Janmashtami, if you're a Hindu, or whatever, very, very less, very less. You might get 10,000 people come to the temple on Janmashtami. And then that's it till next year. You'll never see them again. It's like that. They don't have time. And that's their choice. They've just gone down that path of mode of passion. So they have no time. So that's the problem, So in mode of ignorance, you're not going to come to Krishna consciousness. Mode of passion, you're not going to come to Krishna consciousness. The only opportunity is in the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, it means knowledge. And like I said, and the knowledge is, I'm not the body. I'm a spirit soul. That's the knowledge. I'm not talking about what you get from university. That's actually more ignorance. That, get more material things. That's what you're getting a certificate for, to get more material things so you can be happy. That's what you're told, which doesn't work. But anyway, knowledge means to realize that you're not the body, that you're a spirit soul. And that's the real platform of happiness. is on that spiritual platform. That's the real platform of happiness. And then that's why on that platform, the devotee's always happy, always joyful, as mentions here on the spiritual platform, always joyful. And why they're always joyful? Because, yeah, they're not lamenting about the past, and they're not desiring or hankering anything for the future. They're just so satisfied to be, engaging in some service for Krishna. And also important to mention that they love everyone. They're friendly to everyone. They don't see, these are my friends, these are my enemies, these are good, these are bad. They see everyone as a spirit soul. They see everyone as a spirit soul. And getting back to this verse, today's verse, just while we're wrapping up, back to 932, that so he says that those who take shelter of me, though they be of lower birth, and he's mentioned 3 different kinds of lower birth, can attain the supreme destination. So, materially, there are distinctions. This is low, this is high. But spiritually, no. Spiritually, not. Spiritually, everyone is on the same platform. So that's why he's saying, even though materially you have a low birth, spiritually you have an equal opportunity to go back to Godhead. So on the spiritual platform, there's equality there. It doesn't matter whether you have a low birth or a high birth, you're born as a Sudra or a Brahmana or whatever. But if you take shelter of Krishna, means if you surrender to Krishna, engage in devotional service, then everyone's equal. It doesn't matter. You should not see a devotee according to their body. That's an offense. If you say, oh, this is a Sudra devotee, you're offense. This is a Kshatriya devotee. This is a man devotee, woman devotee, low class devotee. Well, no, that's an offense. And devotee is devotee. Doesn't matter what body you have, it's a devotee. And if you're taking shelter of Krishna and by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, following the regulated principles, then you're transcendental to the body. Yeah. So once you've come to that spiritual platform, surrender to Krishna, then you don't distinguish the body anymore. It's not important, and Krishna doesn't. So Krishna doesn't. Why do we? Krishna's saying, I don't care. If anyone surrenders to me, engaged in devotional service, I don't care what body they have. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They can all come back to Godhead. Whoever serves me, forgetting about their, bodily consciousness, and whoever serves me, they can come back to Godhead. It's not only the Brahmanas can go back to Godhead. Actually, if the Brahmana doesn't engage in devotional service, doesn't surrender to Krishna, he's coming back. 100% is coming back. And if the Sudra surrenders to Krishna, then it's 100% going back to Godhead. If a prostitute surrenders to Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, engaging in devotional service, 100% going back to Godhead. And the Paka Brahmana, who knows all the mantras and yagyas and tapasya and everything, but doesn't chant Hare Krishna, is coming back. So it doesn't matter. So everyone has an equal opportunity when it comes to devotional service. That's the point of this verse. There's no material disqualifications. It's not a disqualification being in a woman's body or a Sudra's body when it comes to devotional service. There's no material qualifications necessary. Or you're born in a Brahmin family, or you're a qualified Brahmana, you can engage in devotional service. No. It doesn't matter what material qualifications you have or you don't have. There's only one qualification. Whatever Krishna says, you do it. That's it. That's what a devotee is. Like Krishna says here in the Bhagavad Gita, he told Arjuna, I want you to fight. If Arjuna says no, then he's disqualified. If he says yes, then he's qualified. He's a devotee, right? And because Arjuna is a devotee, even though he didn't want to fight, Arjuna did not want to fight his relatives, his guru, his grandfather. But they said, oh, Krishna, you want me to fight? Okay, I'll fight. So that's a surrender. So if you surrender to Krishna and you do what he wants, it doesn't matter what your material situation was before or anything. That's not counted. It's not considered like that. But materially speaking, there are differences, and that can't be ignored. So people that say materially everything is the same, that's a load of BS. That's a load of rubbish. Like they say, like we have, women's women's liberation, and what is it? What is it? I can't remember all those movements. Women's rights or whatever. We're not against women's rights, of course, but if there's a movement saying that, women and men are equal, no, they're not. As Prabhupada pointed out, men are generally physically stronger than women, the body wise. So how can you say that's equal? A woman can give birth to a child. Can a man give birth to a child? No. So is that equal? No, there's a difference. So what I'm saying is, materially, there are differences, right? But on the spiritual platform, there are no differences. But don't say that on the material platform, everything's the same, because it's not. It's not. It's 100% not. On the spiritual platform, the soul platform, yes. So if you want equality, you have to come to the spiritual platform, because there is no equality on the material platform. It's not possible. It never has been, it's not now, and it never will be. There are differences. There are differences like that. Like that. I mean, Prabhupada one time saw a woman police officer, and he's like laughing. Said, what happens if some big criminal comes there? She's going to get smashed to pieces like that. It's just ridiculous. Like that. It's just society doesn't understand that there are material differences like that, and it's going to create problems in society, and we see that. Now the citizens are not being protected properly because our defense forces are hopeless. Previously, right, if you stepped out of line, the king, who was a man, very strong man, he'd pull out a sword and cut your head off if you stepped out of line, and then immediately there's no more criminals after that, because everyone's going to be mortally afraid of the leader is so strong and powerful. Now everyone's so wimpy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chinese pointing out in history there are exceptions, and there are, and even in Vedic culture, there were a few women Kshatriyas, and they were super powerful and clever at fighting, but they were trained up by their Kshatriya fathers and everything like that, so they had some special blood in their bodies coming from their Kshatriya parents and everything, and they were able to, ride on the horse and wield a sword and chop off people's heads and everything like that. But that's an exception. So there are, and I mean, there are very powerful women police officers, don't get me wrong, but that's an exception. I'm talking about exception and the general principle. So the general principle is that, women are physically weaker, and the general principle is that, men can't give birth and women can give birth. So there are differences, but spiritually, like I said, it doesn't matter. Krishna will take everyone in, whatever your material background is, but as long as you're on that platform of taking shelter of Krishna by engaging in devotional service. So I'll finish there because we've run out of time. But if anyone has any comments or any questions. Are you upset, ladies?
No.
That's good. So that just proves that you're transcendental. Because if you were operating on the bodily platform of woman, you'd be fighting with me now.
No.
So that proves that you're transcendental. That's very good. So like Prabhupada
You've
said,
explained
these are
it
not
very
ordinary
well.
women. These are transcendental.
Explained it very well. Thanks, Abhay Prabhu.
Thank you.
That's all right. And I was born a Sudra, so you know I'm no better than anyone else.
We're equal.
Actually, my category is even lower than Sudra. It's called a Malecha or Yavana. Malecha means meat eater, and Yavana means very unclean. So I was born lower than Sudra is better than that. They're at least follow some rules, but you know I was brought up not following any rules, just very unclean and meat eater and everything. So definitely
But on
nothing
the
to be proud of.
spiritual platform, we're all equal. So there you go.
Yeah, so by Prabhupada's mercy, by Prabhupada Krishna's mercy has bringing us to the spiritual platform. So all credit to Prabhupada. And that's what it's going to talk about in the purport, which we'll try next time. And the purport is by contact with the pure devotee of the Lord can bring us up to the spiritual platform by contact with the devotee of the Lord. That's our saving grace. And that's why we celebrate Prabhupada's birthday every year after Krishna Janmashtami for saving us from all this bodily consciousness and bringing us to the platform of spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we'd still be in the gutter somewhere, speaking personally, without Prabhupada coming to the West, leaving his comfortable life in Vrindavan. I mean, we went to that temple that Prabhupada was in. I'm not sure if you remember. It was Jiva Goswami's temple, Radha Damodar Mandir. And we went to Prabhupada's rooms. I don't know if you remember. We went to Prabhupada's rooms. So what a wonderful place. I mean, he just walk out of his room and he's in this beautiful temple, getting prasadam, hearing kirtans, right in the middle of Vrindavan, where Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis, was there 500 years ago, such a spiritual mecca. And then he left that. And he was so respected, sannyasi, everything, comfortable life, no problems. He could have just gone back to Godhead himself, but he left all that to help all us degraded, Westerners, all glories to Prabhupada. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. At 70 years old, oh my God. Now, no, I'm like over 50 now, and so many aches and pains, I don't feel like going anywhere. And he went, the lady that owned the ship that he went on said, Swamiji, I don't want you to go there. You're going to die. You're just going to die on the boat. He's so old. And he nearly did, right? 2 heart attacks. Oh my God. He took so much risk for us, so much risk he took for us.
Krishna had a plan.
Now I'm just thinking what I can do for Prabhupada. He did so much for me. I'm not doing enough. I have to do something. So we want to try to figure out what to do. So that's why we want to go out, distribute prasadam, outside Pack and Save. Have to do something for Prabhupada to help these other people that were like us. They were like us in ignorance. Just like we were. If I go back 30 years ago, I was just like them today. And the only difference is we contacted a devotee who'd contacted Prabhupada. So we have to pass it on. That's our duty. That's our debt, how we can repay our debt to our spiritual master by helping others also. Lovely, lovely, lovely to be with you too. Transcendental ladies.
Far from it. Thank you very much, Abhay Prabhu. I shall log off.